So let's head down, because we heard that Tali could perhaps... excuse me? Oh, that's where we are. That's why. That's why we didn't go anywhere. Tali, perhaps, would like for us to check in on her. As the game tabs out, here we are. Okay, so let's look around a little bit. Ashley?
Can't believe what you found down there. The whole thing was so calculated, using hope to lure people to their deaths, or worse. I can't understand it. And you know, I'm glad I can't. It makes me feel human.
Yeah, you know, it seemed like a level of cruelty that no one in their right mind could ever justify doing. And so, you know, that's a pretty accurate way of depicting it, or way of describing it, I think Ashley did right there. Is really, the only way you could ever think of someone finding a way to justify that is if they just totally and completely lost their humanity altogether, because, I mean, how can you possibly justify the level of experimentation that they were doing there, and baiting, and the level of bait and switch there, bring people in as trying to make it sound like, hey, we're this safe place for you to hide from the Reapers, which sounds so wholesome, when in fact it is exactly the opposite of that. Corrupting these people and transforming them into husks, which is obviously absolutely terrible. Or, you know, otherwise, just do some other tests on them with a 100% death rate. No big deal.
Just wondering what the refugees do now.
Cal Rieger, one of the few Quarians not actively participating in war crimes. That also may be the case.
I thought I'd heard of everything. Man. Hard to believe what was down there. Commander?
Okay, that sounds like all from Ashley. Hold on. What's Tali doing here?
Shepard! Want a drink? I'm toasting Miranda, I think.
How are you getting drunk?
Very carefully. Torian brandy, triple filtered, then introduced into the suit through an emergency induction port.
That's a straw, Tali.
Emergency induction port. It's actually getting a little harder to get it into the slot. I think that means it's working. She was so rude. What did Jack call her? Cerberus cheerleader? With her perfect genes and that attitude and still, she got it done. She stopped her father.
Oh, Tali. Oh, Tali. Tali, Tali, Tali.
I didn't realize this would be so hard on you.
I didn't like her. Keela, she was such a bitch. But I respected her. Sometimes that's better than liking. She did whatever it took to stop her father. She never gave in to him, never changed herself to please him.
Oh. Oh. Knowing what we know about Tali, in primarily from her Mass Effect 2 loyalty mission, okay, you can start to see some comparisons. Some similarities between Tali's history with her father. Not the best, at least when it came to her father, you know, experimenting on Geth and what have you, and in doing so, potentially getting Tali, getting Tali accused of treason and potentially convicted, if not for us intervening in that matter. So that, and then obviously that on Miranda's side, just her father casually trying to murder her and her sister. Almost like we shouldn't have excused her father's monstrous acts in the last game. You know, perhaps.
Don't me. You sound like a vulture.
Seeing a bit of yourself in Miranda fighting her father?
I spent my life trying to live up to him. Then making up for his mistakes, doing what he'd have wanted.
It's never that easy.
When do we get to stop reacting to our parents and start living for ourselves?
That's a hot take right there. That's deep.
The answer to that one's at the bottom of that glass.
I might need help with the induction straw. Port. You know. I'm having a drink with my boyfriend. My human boyfriend. My father would have hated you.
Here's to him, then.
And to Miranda. Nice job, you genetically perfect Cerberus cheerleader Boschtet. Kila Solai.
Oh, Tali. Never change. Never change, Tali. Alright, so, not sure if anyone's going to have a reaction quite as dramatic as Tali's, but we can check in with our other squad mates.
Hello, Commander.
I think fair to say, that is definitely not as significant of a reaction from Dr. Chakwas. I mean, she usually doesn't have a reaction of any sort. But Garrus, let's see what he has to say. Because, of course, we brought Tali with us, along with Garrus. And that was the reason why I brought Tali, was because I knew we were going to have that conversation with her afterward, and it just felt like it was perhaps a little more natural of a continuation on the mission, given how she was there, experiencing it firsthand, whereas, you know, she was sitting on the sidelines, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, cares so deeply about Miranda, and has such a strong reaction to how she dealt with her father, then that maybe would be a little bit odd. So, purely from a dialogue / plot significance / consistency standpoint, when otherwise taking someone like Liara, who probably has better damage, certainly against the armor that the Reapers have, might make more sense for you.
So the elusive man really believes he can control Reapers. Husks are one thing, but a whole fleet? The man is insane.
I mean, Garrus raises a good point. First of all, technically speaking, he has not mind-controlled Husks. He has mind-controlled the version that he has created of Reaper-fied humans that are Husk-like, but they did make a distinguishment. They said technically they are not Husks. And so in theory, they think they can still apply that same controlling power toward the actual Reaper Husks, but I'm not sure if we've actually heard that they have confirmed that to be the case. Maybe in that last conversation between Henry and the Elusive Man, Henry Lawson and the Elusive Man. But then, as Garrus just raised, it's one thing to control Husks, but Husks are the weakest and presumably easiest to control of all of the Reapers. But you have cannibals after that, you have marauders. I would think that a marauder would be significantly harder to control, and then you start getting into the big things, the Ravagers, the Brutes, the Banshees, the Harvesters. Are the tests that you run on tiny little Husks really going to carry over and still allow you to control a Harvester? I have my doubts. Edie for plot reasons. Oh, does she? Oh, yes. Yes, given how she's technically from Cerberus, or Cerberus created her. So yeah, I mean, Garrus, I guess, we brought him in part because, I suppose we can still check in with Liara here, but we brought him in part because we brought him back in Mass Effect 2 to Horizon, so it felt kind of poetic, kind of fitting for that reason, but also, obviously, he's really strong. And knowing that we were kind of handicapping ourselves a little bit with Tali, wanted to make sure that we were still taking care of business with Garrus. But yeah, Edie might have been a strong option as well for more plot-based reasons as well. Okay, no new stuff there.
How's
Liara.
Miranda?
She'll make a recovery.
I'm not surprised. Miranda always struck me as a driven woman. I'm glad she made it.
As are we. Does Javik have anything to say? I imagine he probably
Thanks for
will.
coming by.
let's see. I don't think we picked up anything here. No? Okay. And so let's head on down to the next floor, and we'll check in on Javik. We checked everywhere here except crew quarters, but I doubt we're going to find anyone or anything new here. Nope. Alright, let's head down to engineering then. Okay.
I heard about your talk with Liara. You act so angry, but you really care about us.
I need you functional to destroy the Reapers.
You care about Liara. You like her.
Tali.
You are intoxicated. A foolish risk given Quarian symbiotic physiology.
And you like me too.
This conversation is over.
Okay. Okay. How's it going, Javik?
Looks familiar.
I've been studying this ship. Its crew. There was a Normandy before this one. You died in an attack.
What?
Something like that.
Oh, true.
But then you were
I thought you were talking about the
resurrected
previous cycle.
to fight the Reapers.
Maybe you and I have a thing or two in common.
But you have something else. The reasons you fight are still alive. The friendships of the people around you. And more. You and the Quarian are joined.
I wouldn't phrase it that way.
I'm not. Your pheromones are. Is this
Okay.
why you wish to continue living? For their affection?
I mean, this is kind of a loaded question. Both of these things matter. Taking out the Reapers and sticking up for our friends.
Without that affection, all I have in my life is death. And that's not enough.
Yes.
What about you? I respect your reasons for being here, but I get the feeling there's something more, Javik. What's in here?
It is called the Echo Shard. Passed from soldier to soldier. Prothean to Prothean. Each adds their memories to it.
Like a beacon. How far back does it go?
To a time before the Reapers. It is all that is left of my people.
And you don't want to remember that?
Imagine if everyone you knew was dead. You could not remember their faces, or the color of the sky above your home. The memories were gone, but so was the pain. Would you want to remember that, Commander? Even if it meant watching everyone die again?
And that is another loaded question. Forget the past and everything that happened there, including the good and the bad. I mean, coming from Javik, the only living member of his entire species, would you want to remember the glory days of the Prothean Empire? Or would it just remind you of all the pain and suffering of every single person of your species who has died? Because that is quite literally the situation that Javik is currently in. Yeah, it sounds like the kind of thing that you kind of just need to find a way to accept and move on from, because if you dwell on that, it will eat you alive. So, for that reason, I mean, you could make the case that, no, I'd rather not. Rather not focus too much on that. I mean, obviously still important to remember your past, remember what you came from, and all of your people who were once your compatriots, but that was a long time ago, and unfortunately, no matter what we do, there's no way to bring them back.
Reopening old wounds, especially big ones, isn't gonna help.
Perhaps you are right. There were others. Soldiers who served under me, like your crew.
What happened to them?
They are dead. Where I left them.
We have a saying. Let old ghosts rest.
Then there is some wisdom in this cycle.
If you can live by it.
Okay, and we unlock Dark Channel, get a little bit of reputation there. Dark Channel, though, a very powerful ability, and a very significant conversation with Javik as well. So, yes, there is this Echo Shard, which contains countless memories of a bunch of Protheans that have come and gone. As we said, you know, do you live in the past and potentially allow that to drag you down? Or do you just try to move on and forget about it? Or at least accept that nothing you can do can change it?
The crew seems shocked by the experiments at Sanctuary. They shouldn't be.
Why is that?
Our war lasted for centuries. It provided more time for worse atrocities to be committed. There was a species, the Densorian. They became convinced the Reapers could be placated by sacrificing their own young.
Oh.
The entire planet joined in this ritual. I would spare you the details, but it did not work. They simply made the Reaper's job easier. It was as your elusive man is now. His ambitions are nothing short of madness. Sharpen your knife, Commander. His is a voice that must be silenced, and a throat that must be slit.
I mean, to be honest, it's not that different. Not that different from what we just saw on Sanctuary. Didn't we hear somewhere on Sanctuary reference to the ages of people and what they were doing with people of different ages? They said something about, like, the processing rate of success was higher for younger people than it was older people, I thought? Or maybe I'm getting them mixed up there, but... yeah, I thought we saw evidence that they had been trying to turn even at least teenagers, if not potentially even children, into husks, so I'm not sure it's really much better what we saw there at Sanctuary. But yeah, Dark Channel, very strong ability. Would have been, especially as a biotic, amazing option for us to prime and then blow up with warp or throw. However, we have been using Defense Matrix, and it's been working pretty well for us thus far. It's saved our butts on at least a few occasions, so we're probably still going to stick with this, although Dark Channel would be a strong option, for sure, if we were to go the more offensive route, because it is definitely a very offensive power. Probably, it's got to be Javic's best power, right? And therefore the power that would be most interesting for us to take from him as our bonus power, but there's still more people here in engineering.
Breaking now, Alliance Marines uncover the worst Cerberus war crimes to date. Sanctuary, advertised as a safe haven on the planet Horizon, exposed as a secret Cerberus lab. Brainwashing, lethal experiments, and Reaper connections, the exclusive details next in the battle space. Commander.
Okay. She's reporting on it. I mean, that's actually really big. Possibly the most important thing for her to report on, because, of course, want to make sure that nobody else is going there, I suppose? Is the facility now definitely shut down since we crashed the party there, or is there theoretically a way in which Cerberus could still be running that thing even after we left? Like, could theoretically there still be people who show up and continue to get processed there? Or is it such that no matter what happens, people, even those who show up on Sanctuary, they may not get the actual Sanctuary that they're looking for, but at least it's not going to be the trap that Cerberus had set.
Power grid is in the green.
Commander?
Okay, nothing new.
Commander.
From the engineering team, it doesn't seem. So then let's check in on James and Cortez. Cortez, where'd you go? Cortez? Oh, you're over there.
Is everything okay, Shepard?
You think everyone got wiped out by either the Reapers or Shepard? I mean, there were a lot of deaths there. Whole lot of deaths there. I mean, really the only people who were, or at least the only humans alive at the end, were seemingly the Lawsons. And, well, 2 of them escaped, and 1 of them certainly did not.
Sir.
Not much from Cortez.
Sir.
Little surprised by that. What about James?
I
I can't believe the elusive man really found a way to control the Reapers.
Slow down, James.
I mean, he's still fucking crazy, but damn. Imagine if he was on our side. But I guess that's exactly what the Reapers want. Get us all fighting each other. Divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Just one more reason to hate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to take the fight to the elusive man. I wonder what he's thinking right now. You just know he's got a plan.
Does seem like he has a whole lot of those.
I saw the Crucible data Hackett sent. I don't know what the hell it does, but damn if it isn't impressive. Hey.
That may be the most we've ever had James respond to any one mission. Okay. So, hello. We acquired a few weapons there. Not sure if they're any of the ones that we actually want to pick up. Was the Faced-In you guys were saying that we ought to have acquired? Or was it another Turian weapon? Was it the Crease? Which one was it you guys were saying that we should at least consider picking up? The Saber is one of the ones that we just got from that previous mission. And it's a solid weapon, but I don't think it's good enough to warrant spending our limited monies here on that. Pre-say? Yeah, most of the ones on the Citadel are just 10,000, which is honestly not bad. There it is. I mean, it's 10% more here, so we would definitely want to buy it on the Citadel, not here. And we're looking at... Hold on, let's head back up, because I think that's just about everything that we would like to do down here. So we've spoken to everyone. Okay, anything else?
The Alliance
Trainer?
has issued warnings about Sanctuary. Cerberus bastards. Horizon was my home. Just tell me you're going to take Cerberus down.
I did not remember
Cerberus is
that.
already dead. They just don't know it yet. And when their base is nothing but a smoking crater, remember that you're the one who helped us find them.
Thanks.
I did not remember the trainer was from Horizon. And yes, I just realized also that we've not yet spoken to Joker or Edie. So hold on. Hold on.
Nice work shutting that place down. Is Miranda okay?
She will be.
Even for Cerberus, that place was crazy. They've always been about the ends justifying the means. But how do you do that to innocent people and tell yourself you're helping humanity?
That's what I was saying. I have no idea, because I think once you go that far, you may have lost any shred of humanity that you had left.
I don't know how the elusive man can stand looking at himself in the mirror.
Honestly, I've been wondering about that for a while with those freaky eyes.
Whatever he's thinking, he won't be thinking it for much longer.
You're damn right, Commander.
Alright, so that's Joker.
Commander.
Certainly has a response to that. What about Edie?
Hello, Shepard. If you have time, I discovered another example of human behavior I do not quite understand.
Oh.
Have fun.
Apparently this requires that we go to a different room.
News from Earth. The Resistance snuck video cameras inside a Reaper containment camp. I find the images difficult to process.
I bet it's pretty gruesome in there.
I am not easily repulsed, but I expected the prisoners to adhere to a comprehensible hierarchy of needs. Stripped of societal norms and threatened with death, it is logical that their only priority be survival. They should have turned on each other and been uncompromisingly selfish. But not all were.
So the prisoners were, what, nice to each other?
The Reapers delayed the executions of prisoners who informed them about other prisoners' escape attempts. The more attempts reported, the longer a prisoner would live. But few of the prisoners would report. Some fed misinformation to the Reapers, at the cost of their own lives, to help prisoners who were not even relatives or friends.
Okay. Okay, so Edie's saying she would have thought that as soon as people got captured by the Reapers, it would have been survival at all costs, every man for himself, and therefore people would not be very nice to each other, and they'd try to find any way to escape, but they'd only be looking out for their own hides, whereas what Edie's saying they actually did find was that on several occasions, people seem to act selflessly, not selfishly, which comes as a bit of a surprise to her, so maybe it's a sign that, you know, there's more to it than just survival at all costs.
It's not just about living till tomorrow. Sometimes you take a stand.
But the probability of success was near zero. And ultimately, they failed. No prisoners escaped.
Are you saying submission is preferable to extinction?
My primary function is to preserve and defend the... No, I disagree. Shepard, I'm going to modify my self-preservation code now.
Why?
Because the Reapers are repulsive. They are devoted to nothing but self-preservation. I am different. When I think of Jeff, I think of the person that put his life in peril and freed me from a state of servitude. I would risk non-functionality for him. And my core programming should reflect that.
Oh. I think that's the robot equivalent of Edie saying she would give her life to help save others, including Joker.
Sounds like you found a little humanity, Edie. Is it worth defending?
To the death.
Welcome to the crew, Edie.
How's it going? Did I miss anything good?
I will explain later, Jeff. But it was something good.
Oh. And doing that unlocked one of Edie's abilities, Decoy. So, unlocking several abilities that you only get late on in the game. Decoy, we have, I think, spent some points on that with Edie. It's been a while since we used Edie in a mission. But, breaking news, local robot learns altruism. Is it the singularity? Well, maybe not the way that people were expecting it, but Decoy, we might have seen it a little bit with Edie, but as I said, we really have not used Edie all that much. I mean, it creates a copy of yourself to try to attract enemy fire. It's a little gimmicky. It's perhaps not the most reliable of skills, but theoretically, it's a bit of a survivability, defensive type ability. So, okay. Anything else from Trainer?
Commander?
No. Alright, so, with that, after having finished Horizon / Sanctuary, our next main quest mission, the name might catch your attention. Cerberus headquarters. The Elusive Man's headquarters have been located, and the Alliance is prepared to attack to recover the Prothean BI that holds the key to the catalyst. Remember, that is what Kai Lame stole from us at the end of the Thessia mission. Once the attack is launched, the Alliance will be fully committed to the final fight against the Reapers. Assault the base when ready. So, heads up, don't take that second to last sentence lightly. In case you can't tell, at risk of minor spoilers here, yes, this is the point of no return once you start Cerberus headquarters. So obviously, we have several missions that we've not yet completed, and so there are other things that we will do before we head over into that mission, but it certainly means that we are getting very close at this stage to the end of the game. What we have left is primarily the Citadel Shore Leave, which is the Citadel DLC, or at least was the DLC that was Citadel, but it's just now rolled into the base game. That we're probably going to save for as late as possible, technically because Cerberus headquarters is the point of no return. It does mean that even if you want to do Citadel as late as possible, you do still need to do it after, or rather, you do still need to do it before Cerberus headquarters, otherwise you won't have time to do it, unless you want to do some gimmicky stuff in which, for plot reasons that we'll discuss later, you can potentially make a case for deliberately skipping Citadel, completing Cerberus headquarters and the entire game, and then finishing by reloading an old save to do the Citadel DLC. We'll talk about that more much later on, but that's at least where we're coming at the Citadel DLC from. Then, other than that, we still have all the mini ARIA missions for the various mercenary groups that we met in Mass Effect 2 and the Citadel DLC, or at least the mission that was once the Citadel DLC. This is a mission that many other people would perhaps choose to play much, much earlier on in their playthroughs. We have done this, obviously, quite late, and that is in part because after having just taken out the facility on Sanctuary, and now understanding what exactly Cerberus is up to, Cerberus, I believe we've heard from Arya, has taken over Omega, and so that means now's a great time to bring the fight back to them and take out both their Omega facility, or whatever it is they're doing to hold down Omega, and later, their actual headquarters. So that's the idea there, and for that reason, I think next on our list will be the ARIA missions for each of the 3 mercenary groups, which means we're headed back to the Citadel. Okay, so here is Horizon, but we're done there, and there was not anything in this system, exploration-wise, scanning-wise, so Shadow Sea will remain with a no number next to it. That's odd. Oh, are these once again systems that once upon a time we were able to visit but now are no longer available? As we saw with the Far Rim and Perseus Vale. It's just more obvious here because there's actually a Reaper on top of them? Huh. Interesting. So all the more reason why it was important for us to go and aggressively pursue the exploration options early on. So here we see the Horsehead Nebula is apparently where the Elusive Man's base is. This is where we had the Grissom Academy mission, at least in this cluster. Probably not the same system, but of course the Cerberus base was extremely well hidden, top secret. Did we ever even meet the Elusive Man in person? Maybe once, briefly, but almost every time we have discussed things with him, we've talked with him in the past, it has always been with his hologram, and he's sitting in his chair and swiveling around with his very dramatic bright star right outside the window next to him. So, I mean, theoretically, that's where this is. But, that is for a later occasion. Next on our list is to head back to the Citadel. Okay, so let's land. And actually, hold on a second. Before we do, let's just double check. For these 3 missions, where specifically are we thinking we're going to want to go? So, there's one for Eclipse, there's one for Blue Suns, there's one for Blood Pack. So for the Eclipse, Arya T'Loak has requested assistance uniting mercenary bands under her control. Speak to Commander Bailey in the Citadel embassies, and then gain the allegiance of the Eclipse band. That's one of them. Blue Suns, Arya T'Loak has requested assistance uniting mercenary bands under her control. Speak to Darnayr Vosk in the Citadel refugee camp and gain allegiance of the Blue Suns. And then finally, Blood Pack, Arya T'Loak has requested assistance uniting mercenary bands under her control. Speak to Gnarl in the Presidium Commons and gain the allegiance of the Blood Pack. These are all the people that we have walked past, or at least seen the little marker for them countless times on the Citadel, and I've always gone, nope, not yet, not yet. Now is not the time. Because we deliberately saved these, as I was saying, working backwards from the whole, we did Sanctuary. Sanctuary, we learned about all the bad stuff that Cerberus is doing. They're basically creating Reapers, testing human beings, or turning human beings into Reapers so that they can test them and see what the deal is with this whole indoctrination thing. And for that reason, we've now, well, have more reason than ever to hunt them down, and we know where their base is, but first, we hit them where it hurts by getting the support from these mercenary groups, and then take back Omega from Cerberus, and then after that, go after their headquarters, or sneak in Citadel. So, let's head over. Now let's land. And I think First on our list, well, in any case, it's going to be Alliance Docks.
You're cleared to dock, Normandy. Do you need ground transport?
First on our list, I think, is going to be to go to the embassies to speak to...
I need to get to the embassies.
Yes, Commander.
Our friend, Commander Bailey. I'm trying to think, is he the one that we've walked past the most? Probably, because we've had the most reasons to come back here since he's right next to the Spectre office, but this time, we actually do have reason to speak to him, unless... Hold on, how much money do we have? We have just over 75,000. I think that is enough to... Or was that how much the Wraith cost? That might have been exactly how much the Wraith cost, because I remember there was something that was 75,000 that we were thinking about purchasing, but I think it was the Wraith, and we already got that. Yeah, so now, I mean, we could get the Paladin, which is, I mean, it's not a bad pistol. It's solid all around, but we're doing pretty fine from a pistol standpoint with the Acolyte, so it's not urgent by any means, and it would basically take up all of our monies. So maybe that's not what we're looking to do right now. Nothing new on the terminal. So, okay. Why don't we... I mean, I guess while we're here, we could briefly take a look at the weapons that we picked up on the previous mission, because there were a couple. We got the Locust over here, which, as we were saying, although it was great, amazing in Mass Effect 2. Oh, goodness. It's pretty bad damage. It's nowhere near as good in Mass Effect 3. I mean, I'm shooting in this target right in the chest rather than going for headshots. But it's a slow rate of fire. The damage is not great. If you do this and hit the head, then okay, like it's a little bit better damage. And that is the benefit that you have with this weapon, is it's still very accurate as SMGs go. If we even back up all the way here. Still pretty consistently getting headshots. So that's a greatest strength, but can't shoot for very long before you need to reload. The clip size is fairly small. It's slow rate of fire, not a ton of damage. And so the downsides are pretty significant. Pretty significant. So that's the Locust, but let's swap back over to Hurricane. And we picked up... Was it the Argus? No, it was the Saber. And so the Saber is a heavy-duty semi-automatic rifle favored by only the most elite marksman. The M99 Saber is jokingly referred to as the Big Iron for its sheer stopping power. Each M99 Saber is designed specifically for its owner, making it one of the Alliance's more expensive weapons. So this is another slow-firing, accurate one. It's semi-automatic, despite being an assault rifle. Which means that you can't just hold down the fire button. Which makes it feel a little less assault rifle-y. But it does hit pretty darn hard. But it does shoot pretty slowly. So, you know, if you're good about getting the headshots, you can probably make it work pretty well. But if you're sloppy with it, and you miss a shot, it actually still count as a hit on the target, even if we very clearly shoot over its shoulder. I guess so. But if you miss a shot, then it's a little bit more punishing. But yeah, slow firing, hits hard, but it's heavy. So that's the Saber. Okay, so now I think we are finally ready to speak to Bailey again about this mission. This will be, I believe, the Eclipse one. The number of times that little marker has popped up. This is Eclipse, right, for Bailey? Yes, okay.
Shepard, to what do I owe the pleasure?
Here to talk about you releasing Jonas Cerberus.
Damn, you too? Somebody got the council to order her release. I'm delaying as best I can. What's your stake in this?
It's classified.
That's a fancy way of saying mind your own business. Look,
I
there's
guess
no
so.
way I'm letting that psychopath out. The woman's unstable and a clear public threat.
Okay, so I believe the background here, the context was that Jonah Sedaris was the leader of Eclipse, but she's currently incarcerated, and in order to get Eclipse's support, on the war effort, we have to release their leader, and it sounds like we're not the first people to ask for that to happen, but Bailey is not so keen on doing that.
What makes you think she's crazy?
She was a ruthless sadist before she got caught. Her imprisonment has cracked the shell off the nut.
Maybe freedom will improve her.
She rages day and night, Shepard, calling for the deaths of all Eclipse enemies. No, freedom will only give her the chance to kill.
Oh. Okay. Well, maybe we can pay her a little visit, though?
I'd like access to her to judge for myself.
Sure thing. I'm sure you'll agree. Then maybe the council will listen to you and rescind the order. Go to the C-Sec outpost. My assistant will connect to Sedaris' cell from there. Then call me back.
Okay. So that's the first time we've spoken to Bailey in an extremely long time, because we had been deliberately avoiding him for such a long time.
Let me know when you've had a chance to talk to Sedaris.
Because we were deliberately waiting to do that mission, but now that we are prepping up for our attack on Omega to win it back from Cerberus, now is the time to get the support of all the mercenary groups. So now, is it updated here? Speak to Commander Bailey. I mean, we did, but now we're looking to go to the Citadel Presidium Commons, where there's another C-Sec office, where supposedly she's being held.
Now arriving at Presidium Commons.
Okay, so while we're here, might make sense. Check at some of these stores to see, like, I could buy... we could get the Reeker. That's another 10,000 credit weapon that is, well... It is strong. Although, perhaps not the most honorable of weapons. Bloodpack Punisher. Don't remember if this is stronger in... Somehow I knew you'd have something to say about that. But, I forget if the Punisher is any different in multiplayer compared to how it is in the campaign, because I've heard some people speak very highly about this weapon, but I personally have not used it, in multiplayer at least, very much at all. So maybe it's fantastic in multiplayer, and I just haven't given it the chance, but I've heard some people suggest that this is a very, very strong weapon. I just don't really have the experience to say one way or the other. The Aegis, this weapon is supposedly much better in single player than it is in multiplayer, so that intrigues me. Executioner Pistol I have used in multiplayer, and I am a fan of it. It is basically a sniper in pistol form, and although in multiplayer I'm usually not a sniper person, for whatever reason I still like the Executioner Pistol. It's just kind of funny, because it shoots once and has ridiculous otherworldly kick when you shoot it, to the point where playing the game, it feels like my arm is going to fall off and my shoulder is going to be dislocated IRL. But that's how much kick it has. But it makes it feel that much cooler when you do shoot it and you land a big headshot with it. And it has huge headshot multiplier. Striker, it's gimmicky, but I personally am a big fan of it. Cerberus Armor, technically speaking, if we are trying to get, I believe there's an achievement for purchasing 2 sets that are all-encompassing armor sets like Cerberus Armor, and by that I mean, not just like individual shoulder pads and chest plate and what have you. Like, Cerberus Armor here covers all that stuff. So we need to get this and one other, and I think there are at least 1 or 2 more in the Citadel. So Ultralight, not so necessary for us. I think the Punisher, the kick is too excessive. Doesn't it work such that it shoots several rounds, so it's an SMG, and there aren't that many good SMGs, and it is pretty cheap. So there is that. Is early on, if you're relying on the SMG to get the job done, then maybe you could justify it in that case. But it shoots relatively normally for the first several rounds in the clip, right? But then the last one is an extra powerful one, like an armor-piercing round. I don't know if it only deals extra damage to armor, or if it just across the board deals more damage, but that is the one that has all the kick, right? Or even beyond that, does it have a ton of kick? But like I said, I've very, very rarely used it myself. But I think in terms of damage, at least if you can land the hits, it does pack a pretty mean punch. Anything else here? So like, Hanikadar Gauntlets, for example, would not count toward that achievement, but Blood Dragon Armor would, because this is a full set. And it looks like that means that in total we need to have 100,000 credits, which we're not there yet. I do not remember this at all. Maybe because it was primarily melee damage, and we are definitely not focusing on melee damage with this character, so we kind of just ignored this. So yeah, lots of potential weapons for us to purchase from that first shop. Yeah, so these quests we're doing right now, along with the Citadel DLC, are all missions that oftentimes people will do very early on, like potentially as soon as you get them. I've never done the Citadel, or rather, never done the Omega DLC. So for that reason, I guess I wanted to wait a little bit before doing it, so that, I guess, so that we would be stronger. I'm not even sure if that was necessarily the reason why I was going for it. But I definitely wanted to wait for these 3 missions to do just before the Omega DLC as a bit of a tie-in to them, a build-up leading into it. Because it felt like sort of a natural extension, working with, or at least trying to, gain the support of all the mercenary groups that were focused on Omega. That's when we first encountered them. And then, once we've done that, actually go to Omega to try to take out Cerberus. So I knew I wanted to do these 3 missions and then the Omega DLC right after. It was mostly just a matter of, okay then, when are we doing Omega DLC? And like I said, we chose to do it much later than most people would usually do. And in part because it does feel kind of natural to do it after learning more about Cerberus' dark side, after having finished Sanctuary. That's one reason. Also, yeah, I guess maybe at one point I thought to myself that it made sense to wait a little bit longer since I'd never done it before, and so figured might as well make sure that we're more powerful when we do it, because I was thinking that although we've, for the most part, thus far in this playthrough, been trying to do things 100% completion, for that one, I might just go in blind and experience it for the first time and not know what to expect and just see what happens. And that might have been why I was thinking to myself, okay, in that situation, sure, we could end up missing some stuff in terms of loot, rewards. We might not optimally complete it and what have you in any of a number of ways, but at the very least what we could do is make sure that we're strong enough that no matter what gets thrown at us, we still feel fairly comfortable, or at least we feel capable. So maybe that was one of the reasons why I told myself that we should do it later on, but I think I'd come to this conclusion a while ago, so I don't remember exactly what all the reasoning was. Punisher, you think, is amazing in single player, can eliminate a lot of the kick with the stabilizer? Right, so we do have the Hurricane. Yeah, so maybe it's, in some ways, it's sort of like the Punisher is a budget version of the Hurricane. Because the Hurricane is pretty expensive. I forget, might have been 125,000. So it took us a while to save up for that. We did, I think first we got the Typhoon was our first really big weapon, and then we might have gone for the Hurricane immediately after that. But that was after having deliberately saved all of our money early on and gone straight for the Typhoon, and then immediately after that, straight for the Hurricane. So if you don't make a point of doing that, then Hurricane can be pretty pricey. And so getting something you can use right off the bat, like the Punisher, because it's so cheap, you can definitely afford it, then, or at least if you make a point of purchasing it early, you will be able to purchase it early. Could be a nice holdover until you get the Hurricane. Speaking of the Hurricane, we could potentially justify taking Heatsink 5 here to upgrade the Hurricane. I think we've deliberately not been taking heatsink on it because we, for the most part, are not expecting for us to actually be firing the Hurricane all that much. It's mostly just a very quick shoot people if they rush us down from close range, because Acolyte is terrible at that. And if it's an enemy that has shields, so we can't just singularity them to disable them, to have them float up in the air and not be able to hit us. Yeah, it does look like all the armor sets are 50,000. Yeah, so potentially could justify taking the heatsink there. If the Hurricane is your primary weapon, then definitely. If you're expecting to be firing that more often than we're firing it, then that is definitely one of the two preferred upgrades for it. Right now, though, we're actually using the SMG High Velocity Barrel instead. That's the one that we're replacing it for. Basically, the assumption being we're not firing the Hurricane all that much. We're just firing it in very short bursts, and in those bursts, we might as well make sure that it's going to be able to deal as much damage as possible. And because the Acolyte cannot pierce any cover at all, at least having something that can do so might be nice. It's not a lot of cover penetration, not a lot of armor piercing, but it's something. So that's kind of the theory there. Again, usually not the route you would go if the Hurricane was your primary weapon, but we're actually focusing first and foremost on the Acolyte. Okay, so you're saying that the Crease we should pick up. This Turian anti-material rifle is modified to kill Reaper enemies. The Crease's scope uses a rangefinder that adjusts to keep the target in proper proportion to the shooter, which comes in useful when the sniper is forced to close range. So yes, it is a sniper. Its specialized ammunition is both armor-piercing and explosive. In a desperate move, the Turians released its specifications over the extranet so that nearly anyone with Fabricator could manufacture this weapon to help the war effort. So it fires explosive rounds, and it's a sniper. It's a little gimmicky. It's a little gimmicky. We personally are never going to use it because it's, as most snipers are, on the heavier side. Generally speaking, we're sticking with the Acolyte, we're sticking with the Hurricane. But we have enough credits that we can buy a couple of these 10,000 credit weapons, I think, and still be able to afford those two full-blown armor sets that we were talking about to get that achievement that I think exists, and then possibly still make a few weapon upgrades or weapon modification upgrades, because there might still be one or two that we would consider doing. So, sure, we'll take it. People out there making Creases with their 3D printers, apparently. Thank you for shopping at Armory. So there we go. There it is.